The Colorado is looking awesome as always, guys, but we have some interesting mods for it today, so let's jump right into it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Horsepower Obsessed. Today is an interesting day because it is winter time here in Pennsylvania, but it is also 70 degrees, so let's get into some Colorado mods. All right, guys, so yes, it is February here in Pennsylvania, and as you can see, we do have some snow, but somehow it is 70 degrees here, and I am a-okay with that because we're going to give the truck some love today. We have some interesting mods planned for it, and you're going to want to stay tuned and see what they are, guys, because these are definitely something you could use on your Z71 or even base model Colorados. And coming up to the workbench, this is where the magic happens. This is one of the things we have planned for today. If you guys don't know what these are actually Diode Dynamics' new LED pod, and for the Colorado we can actually fit these in the fog lights section instead. Now I have a lot of plans with these things in the future. These Diode Dynamics pod lights are absolutely fantastic. They're extremely versatile. They can be mounted almost anywhere, and the fog lights are just the start. But we're going to go ahead and get these installed on the Colorado today, and I'm going to give you my full review and impressions, as well as obviously show you how to install them. But they're fairly easy, and the newer ones actually come with the ring to hide any unsightly fitment issues, so it actually ends up looking stock. Now, the second thing we're going to do today, because you guys know I can't make a Colorado installation video and only do one thing, is an all lights on package. Now, this tiny little chip in there will actually be able to go onto the factory wiring and allow you to run the fog lights with your high beams. Now, I know what you guys are saying. Well, wait a second, that's illegal. You can't do that. It's going to be too bright. Yeah, you are correct. And in my situation, I never use the high beams on my truck. Never. I never have a reason to. The low beams are more than enough for me, so I never turn on those high beams. Now, if I'm in a situation where I'm off-roading or doing something at night that I need the most amount of light for as possible, that's where this comes in. I can now flip on my high beams, give me a little bit of extra light, as well as keep on the fog lights. Now, I actually have something coming in the future that this is really going to factor in for, and I think what I'm going to be doing is making it so the LED light bar also comes on with the high beams and not with the button that I installed in previous videos. If you guys aren't sure what button I'm talking about, I'll link it to the top right of this video so you can check it out. But the button's actually not made anymore. And if you guys out there are interested in it, shoot me an email and let me know, because I'm probably going to be selling it here shortly, because like I said, I'm going to have it operate with the high beam switch instead. So before we get started, we're going to go ahead and actually install the brackets that are required in order for these to be able to be placed in the factory locations on the Colorado. This is the bracket. So these three little nubs here will actually fit into the factory locations, allowing you to basically replace the factory fog lights. In the kit you get from Diode Dynamics, it actually will come with two little baggies full of screws. Each baggie comes with 2 screws, 2 nuts, and 2 washers. The nuts are actually lock nuts, so they have a nylon insert at the tip of it, as you can see right there. That means basically these will never come loose. But what we're going to do is actually take the lock nut with the nylon end facing in, and we're going to drop it right in this little pocket here. And same thing with the other side, nylon washer facing in towards the light, and drop it right into this pocket. Right there is a closer look at the pocket, but it basically is just big enough to fit the actual nut. Next, we're going to go ahead and actually just slide the bracket down onto it. From there, we're going to go ahead and take our bolt and washer and stick it through and start tightening it down. Now, we are going to leave these loose. They're just going to be finger tight for future adjustability once it's in the truck. But because that nut sits in a little pocket, you're able to kind of finger tighten it up there until you get to the point of hitting that nylon washer, and then it's just gonna kind of sit in there loosely. But we're gonna do this 3 more times and then start on the installation. If you're like me, you don't wanna necessarily remove the wheel, you don't have to, but you're gonna wanna turn it all the way to the left for the driver's side and all the way to the right for the passenger side to give you the most opening in this area, because we're gonna have to take out a little bit of the fender well in order to access the electrical connections behind the fog light, as well as assist in the removal of the stock fog light. There are a couple T15 screws in here you're gonna want to remove. If you have the factory fender flares like I do, you'll have to remove 2 of the bolts, as well as some from the splash shield inside the fender well. Now for me, at the bumper seam right here is where I stopped with the double-sided tape on the fender flares, just for this kind of purpose, so I could easily pull that away if I ever had to remove the front bumper or do anything like this. Your mileage may vary if you didn't install your fender flares yourself. Now in this case, if you want to be able to get into tight spaces and you also want to be able to use your impact gun, on, this is probably the best tool I have invested in. It is a nice 90-degree angle, and it still allows you to use your impact. So I'll link this in the description down below if you guys are interested, but this thing has saved my butt more than once when working on cars, so definitely something I recommend. Almost forgot, after you remove the fender flare, there is a hidden T15 right there behind the fender flare that we have to also remove in order to pull out that fender well shield to get to the fog light. Now for the next part, we have to actually come up front. We have to remove the fog light trim bezel here, which as you can see, mine are black because I actually installed the black ones instead of the chrome because, yeah, chrome is just not my thing. If you guys haven't seen that video, I will link it right up here somewhere so you can check it out yourself. But what we have to do is remove the trim around the fog light here so we can have easier access to the entire fog light bezel. Now you can accomplish this with a trim pry tool. That way you don't scratch anything up in this area. Something like this is like $7 on Amazon or at your local Harbor Freight. I will link it in the description down below if you guys need anything like this for yourselves. As you can see on the back here, it is just a bunch of clips. Pretty easily removed, nothing broke. Everything is still in good shape. For the next step, we're going to go back into the fender well so we can get behind the fog light and push out the entire bezel from there. First things first, we're going to go ahead and unplug the fog light. I have aftermarket fog light LEDs, but your plug here should be the same. After it's unplugged, we can go ahead and just remove the fog light LED or fog light bulb. After that, you should be able to see these little tabs down here. These are actually part of the bezel up front, so you can push on them and work the entire bezel out of the front of the truck. There we have it. There is 5 clips, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the back of the bezel here that you have to compress from the back and push out. The next step is going to be to remove the 3 plastic tabs holding this in. So one here, one there, and one up here. Ultimately, you need to squeeze these and then push the whole assembly through. You're going to want to use a pair of needle nose pliers to compress the sides enough in order for them to go through. So there, I got the bottom one out, top left, and the top right. Back in the garage, back on the workbench, we're going to go ahead and remove the black plastic tabs here from the factory fog light and transfer over to the new fog lights. They come off pretty easily. They're just kind of on there with almost a ball and socket type thing. We're going to go ahead and just move them right to the new Diode Dynamics fog light, just like that. And that's it. We are ready to put this in the truck. Back at the front of the truck again. I didn't really touch on it much in the beginning, but these things are just very, very solid built. The whole thing is aluminum with a giant heat sink on the back. Very high quality looking stuff, and it's going to look awesome on the truck. But anyway, these ones install the same way the old ones came out. We're basically just going to push it into place, and then since we left this loose, we can go ahead, push it all the way in, and tighten down the Allen key bolts on the side to, number 1, make sure it is as flush with the truck as possible, and number 2, you actually have a little bit of adjustability for aiming the fog light up or down. So we'll just line up the holes and basically just push it right in. So from here, once it's installed, we'll go ahead and aim them where we want them. Honestly, where they sit after installation is pretty good. They are aimed slightly down, so not to blind oncoming traffic. There's probably not a lot you have to do with it. It automatically kind of falls down a little bit, and that is pretty much where you want it. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up the Allen key bolts, and then we'll move forward. We'll go ahead and snap the bezel back on in place over top of the fog light, like so. Now with the bezel installed, we can also go ahead and install the bezel that goes around that particular pod. But as you can see from the side here, this is why they started including the bezels, because it actually sticks out a decent amount and doesn't exactly look stock. So these bezels actually just snap on. They just push right into place, and you'll see the top part of it is flat. And that is where you're gonna wanna put it up at the very top, because the trim bezel has to still go on here too. And yeah, guys, that looks absolutely amazing. You can see from the side now, it looks stock. It literally looks stock, and it's going to increase light output. It's going to look a lot better than stock, but at the same time, it's still going to have a stock-esque appearance about it because it is so fully sealed in there. It looks awesome. Huge thumbs up to Diode Dynamics. If these things light up the way I think they're going to, it's going to be awesome. Now, of course, the next step is to put the fog light bezel, the third fog light bezel, back into place, just like so. That is one fog light done. So yeah, check that out. Definitely a big difference in appearance. And then of course the last step is to get it plugged in. Just like that. Now let's test these bad boys out. Woo, those are bright. It's hard to tell on camera. They look about the same, but this is the stock fog light. That's the aftermarket one. This one is much brighter. Definitely gonna be cool at night. I love the way that looks though. That is so freaking awesome looking. It has that off-road truck appearance. I love it. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and button everything back up here on the driver's side and hop over to the passenger side and do the same exact thing I did over there. There was one thing I wanted to kind of clue you guys in on. When you're putting the bezel back on around the entire fog light, these tabs in the front don't want to go in. So on the side here, they're already started. On the top, they're good. On the bottom, they're good. But the ones over here towards the middle of the bumper, I don't know if you're going to be able to see that or not, but they're basically not lining up. You have to kind of get your finger in there and pry them over into this slot. There's two over here. Once you do that, then you can push the entire thing in. So just a little bit of a tip. If you guys are going to do these same LED pods, you'll run into this same kind of problem. Keep an eye on these ones because they want to slide behind the actual hole, and you really don't know for sure that they're not installed until you can see just a tiny gap up here. Definitely keep an eye on these ones when you're installing these. Now we're starting into the installation of the all lights on module from fleeceperformance.com. I actually had somebody reach out to me on Facebook and send this to me for free to test out, and it's been a while. He sent it to me probably about a year ago, and I'm just now getting to it. I don't remember his name, but if you're him, leave a comment down below. I want to thank you for sending this to me, and I want to apologize for this taking so long to get installed, but we're doing it today. So on the back, we actually get greeted with a nice QR code to download the instructions or the website right there if you want to just do it the old-fashioned way. So it's a real simple design here, very, very easy looking. At least the instructions don't look overly difficult, so we're going to jump into it. But guys, this thing's 20 bucks. So if you're interested in doing something like this on your Colorado, you're going to be able to get it done for very cheap. So let's jump into it and see what's involved. First things first, we want to get under the dash here, and we're going to go up to the very top there. Closest to the outside of the truck, you can see the brown connector right there. We're going to unplug that, bring it down, and that's where this module is going to be connected. The easiest way to get to the plug we're looking to get to is actually pulling the dash down a little bit right here. And the directions on their website are very, very clear. So we are good to go here, guys. This thing is basically installed. Ultimately, what you want is on the side labeled fogs is going to be a brown and white wire. On the side labeled highs is going to be a brown and purple wire. You just place them in the little areas right there. And then there's actually a black plastic piece that you can snap down over it that crimps them down right here. And we're done. I'm gonna go ahead and snap this in place. And that's it. We are done. So we're going to button everything up and test it out, see what we got. Well, we're done, but in typical PA fashion, it's starting to rain. So one last look at the Diode Dynamics LED pods. Definitely look pretty freaking awesome. And we got the high beam module installed. Big thumbs up to Fleece Performance for that. I'm going to show you guys the operation here in a second, but we're also going to see something at night. So stay tuned for that update because I want you to see these fog lights and the high beams all at night because how awesome, I love how awesome these things look. They look even better on. So I want you to see them at night though. The light output on these things is absolutely insane. If you're someone who off-roads or takes your truck anywhere that needs additional lighting, this stuff is the way to do it. Between this and the light bar from Rough Country, huge thumbs up. But anyway, check out the functionality of the high beams with the fog lights. All right, guys, that is going to do it for today's video, but I am absolutely loving the freaking LED pods from Diode Dynamics. That high beam module from Fleece Performance is a huge home run as well. So two pretty easy mods today, but are going to make an absolute world of a difference for drivability and especially off-road ability. Guys, I'm absolutely loving the Colorado. I have a bunch of mods planned. I have a bunch of mods just chilling here in the garage. It's definitely going to get crazy with the Colorado soon. So if you guys haven't subscribed yet, please do. I have loads of stuff coming, as you can see. You're not going to want to miss it. And as always, guys, I will catch you in the next upload. And at night, guys, they are incredibly bright. They're very useful. They're very awesome looking. I really love how freaking factory that looks. I mean, look at that. Yeah. It looks like they were supposed to be there from factory. But anyway, let's jump in the truck and see how much light output this puts out in a pitch black area otherwise. So here it is with the fog lights and without. You can see it lights up a lot of the stuff on the sides of the road, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. but it definitely adds a lot of light, especially out there on the side, to really illuminate what might be in the ditches, or if you're on the trails, it would illuminate the edges of the trees and stuff like that. Definitely a huge improvement, definitely very useful. So yeah, if you guys are liking what you're seeing as much as I am, check out the link in the description down below where you can get a set of your own, because these things get 2 very big thumbs up from me. So for comparison's sake, there's the HID headlights I have, the new Diode Dynamic Pod fog lights, my rough country light bar, and then of course the high beams. Yeah, we got some serious light output on this thing now.